Hey everybody, it's Bruno. If you want to be our next guest on AndB, click on the Be My Next Guest link below. Hope you enjoy this episode, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
That's right. What's up, you sucker? That's right. What's up, you sucker?
All right, it's Bruno with AndB, where you know it can't all be serious, Doug.
Well, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Best looking guy in the biz, and I know our caption says top business secret, and we're here at Communica, and you know what? We want to engage you. Let's see what you got. Top business secret. You've been around for a while, so why don't we talk about that? What do you think keeps you going?
Well, I think that every day you have to get up with optimism. You absolutely have to believe in your product and your services and your value to your clients. And if you don't, it's a hard day. And so every single day I get up feeling that it's going to be better than the day before. It may not be better, may be worse. But if you don't have that attitude, that determination, it's really difficult to survive in a very difficult environment.
Okay, so I guess we're done.
Fine.
That's it. Have a good attitude and have a positive environment. We joke around quite a bit on our little episodes here, but there's a reason why we're talking. Is we were encouraged enough to inspired enough to share your story, I guess. So it's a lot easier said than done, what you just said. So how long have you guys been around with Communica? Tell us about that.
This is an exciting year for us. It's our 20th anniversary. And,
wow.
2 decades of surviving in an environment that has its challenges, to say the least. Something we take a lot of pride in. And that longevity is very unusual in our business.
So when you're talking about your business, walk me through what you guys do at Communica.
We are a regulatory engagement firm. And by that, I mean any company that is going to advance a project, could be a hydro project, renewable project, energy project. They have to go through regulatory processes. And we help navigate those processes with the company. And we've been very successful at doing so.
You know what? Most of our viewership, especially with my program, incredibly high intellect. Or just
that surprises me.
Or just my Italian friends, okay? I know this is simple and you probably deal with a whole bunch of highfalutin people that have to do all this regulatory, but walk us through exactly what that means.
Well, let's say we wanted to build a pipeline. Well, you can't just build a pipeline. You're going to have to talk to the people who are going to be impacted by a pipeline. They could be private landowners. They could be local regional municipalities, regional districts, but almost certainly they're going to be Indigenous peoples. All of those folks have to be engaged with. Their interests have to be taken seriously. You have to find a way for accommodation. That's the nub of what a regulatory engagement program would look like.
So you know what? This is, and I'm being serious now, not everything has to be serious, but one of the things we never touch on in my program because it makes it kind of boring is we never take a look at the political slant or religious slant and everything like that. But, big but, right? Right now, pipelines for the last couple of years, coast to coast and across the border, big headlines, okay? About, and I'm not here to say, are they good or are they bad? I guess on your side is just, your opinion really doesn't matter if it's good or bad. If a company wants to build it, you got to get the regulatory side. What really is involved for the people out there that don't know or the ones that think they know? What is involved with getting stuff like that passed, or what in terms of what you do?
It is the single most difficult project development that you'll have, probably short of a nuclear reactor.
So and that's pipeline. You got approved or it's not approved?
It's not approved.
Okay, so walk us through that.
Well, what basically you have to have is a business case, first of all. Why do you want to build that pipeline, whether it's crude oil, whether it's natural gas, whether it's hydrogen? Why do you want to build it? Where's the commercial underpinnings? Then you have to have customer support. But the critical part of the regulatory side is now they need to understand what does the general public and the Indigenous communities think about your project. And so you need to go out and explain your project in a lot of detail. We've done 350 different pipeline projects. And I would say over the course of 20 years, the number one constant, every single one gets more difficult. And the reason is, when you have a single site, you've got a rough idea who you're dealing with. But if you elongate it for a linear development, well, suddenly you're not talking to a homogeneous population. You're talking about people for hundreds of kilometers along, each with their own opinion. Linear disturbance will be the single most difficult thing that you can permit. And it takes a lot of effort and a lot of patience, frankly.
Well, the one thing I learned is Polly's a genius. What's that word you use? That's a good word.
Homogeneous.
Oh, homogeneous. I thought you said Polly's a genius.
No, it's
Polly was a bookie in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's Latin for regulatory engagement.
Oh, okay. I thought it was gaming. But now let's talk about something. 20 years, you mentioned Communica's 20 years doing this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I do want to touch on your background. Because one of our conversations that we had, I think we had one kind of really in-depth one, you uncovered some stuff, and that's what I do, kind of like find out the dirt on people. It's good dirt.
I really regret talking with you.
Yeah. Somebody said that before. Art, who said that? Anyways, pretty much my whole family. But one of the things that I want to bring up is your past, and I found a couple of things that you talked about that you kind of just whizzed through, and I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I bet you people would love to hear this story, right? But 20 years of all this regulatory, talking to Indigenous people and stakeholders and this, and that, you've seen it all. The highs, the lows, when it was $0 a barrel to $100 a barrel, $200, whatever. Lessons learned.
Well, lessons learned is, first of all, high energy prices hide a lot of bad decisions. Okay. And by that I mean is that not every project should be built just because the economics are good. The reality is that you have to be really careful about why you're actually introducing projects. I'm a project guy. I support projects. But when things were really, really hopping, you probably had a galloping stampede of projects that frankly didn't support the nature of the development that people were thinking about. There's a limit to what people will endure. And so number one thing is that you need to have not only the commercial underpinnings, but you need to have the social underpinnings that allow you to actually proceed.
Speaking about the social underpinnings, public affairs is a big part of your business. Is that what gets you up in the morning, or how does that play into?
I think what gets me up more than anything is that, you're developing something. You're developing something from a concept into a regulatory process, and hopefully into construction and in service. You're developing something. And so it's a rare thing, I think, that you're able to say, I had an involvement in that, which is going to stand the test of time for 30, 40, 50 years. And so that is something that really excites me. And it also excites me to work with the professionals that we have here at Communica, because they bring a sense of energy, they bring a sense of determination of their own. They're subject matter experts, and I learn a lot from just working with them.
What have you learned from the different groups? So you talked about the Indigenous group, and I'm sure you have the big oil and gas companies kind of going, this is good for everybody. And they're portrayed as probably really, really bad people, in the eyes of certain people, saying big oil companies really, really, really bad, right? What have you learned? What have you learned?
Well, I'd say really, really, really inaccurate. I think that the oil and gas industry is paying for past sins, not current practices. And by that I says almost every client that we work with, and we worked with a lot of different clients in renewables and energy and mining and infrastructure, they come at it from a very good place, and they want to do good. Doesn't mean that, when you move through life that everything's going to be perfect, but they have good underpinnings for reasons of going forward. So, oil and gas bad? Well, not when it's minus 20 and folks are looking for heat, not when they want to go on a family vacation and get into their car, and certainly not when they're looking at the underpinnings of a society in terms of a real mix of energy opportunities that lead to prosperity, taxes, and a quality of life that's second to none.
What would you say about what you've learned? So oil companies, not good, not bad. They just they're companies and they're mostly trying to do the good, right?
I think that the oil and gas sector has done a lot of really amazing things, and they certainly have been great innovators. I think the lost story, I think, over the last probably 50 years is the level of technological excellence and innovation that has occurred because of it. But I think that, it's like everything. You judge every project by its own footprint.
Right.
And everyone has a slightly different footprint.
What have you learned about the Indigenous groups that you've dealt with?
It's about time. I think that our Indigenous communities have been not fully integrated into project development to the detriment of project development.
Number one thing they would learn. What would I'm big oil or a shareholder or a lobbyist group against oil and gas. What would I learn from that group? Or should I learn?
Two things: relationships and patience. And when I say relationships, if you think about a regulatory process, it could be a year, 2 years. If it's a very large project, 3 or 4 years. That's a static time. But once that facility, whatever it is, goes into service, it has a lifespan for decades.
Yeah.
And so I often say to clients, if you want to really develop very good Indigenous relations and relationships, you need to be consistent and you need to be there, not just in the regulatory process, but think about what a relationship would look like over the decades, and then how that relationship will mature and differentiate itself from other things.
Right. So you've worked, I guess, been doing some work with different provinces and different groups across Canada. In the U.S. also?
And some in the U.S.
What is the best model that you can share about Indigenous groups working with oil and gas groups, with city, municipalities? Is there anything that stands out and goes, wow, did they work well together, and this is a model?
Well, I think there's a number of really good models. First of all, I'd say that if you look to Kitimat, British Columbia, and LNG Canada, which is the largest of the LNG projects currently on the books, Shell and its consortium have done a remarkably good job at relationships with the Haisla First Nation, first of all, and the accompanying First Nations within the region. They have built a standard of engagement that I think is just simply incredible, to the point where the Haisla First Nation 10 years ago had epic unemployment, and today they have full employment, but they have a strong, vibrant cultural identity, and that's what good project development can do. It can embrace the unique cultural aspects of Indigenous communities while also allowing them to have substantive economic development opportunities.
So I guess, to summarize this little conversation, I'm getting the fact that you're a little passionate about what you do.
I love it. If you don't have passion,
Which was the top secret.
Well,
That was a secret.
Without passion, you have to, there is a long line of really good consultants out there. And if you don't have passion, if you don't have professionalism, and you don't deliver, you're at the back of the line. I'm passionate because I believe in what I'm doing, but I'm also passionate because I believe that our clients should know that they can count on us. If you take care of your clients, they will take care of you. And then over 20 years, we've seen it because, often, very rare is it that we do a single project with a client. We end up doing multiple projects because we build really good, solid relationships. So yeah, if you don't have passion, it shows, and that is a cardinal sin.
So one thing I'm going to ask you, we sit in front of these videos and everybody kind of goes, we're wearing the blue suits.
Very nice.
I thought maybe there was going to be an Italian wedding breaking out here, which, in these times, that'd be pretty cool. I always used to complain about the Italian weddings because they were just too big to invite everybody. But it just so happened they got the suits going. But this is what I'm going to ask you, is that we're going to have different kind of parts to this. And one of the things that I want to ask you as a business person, because you're sitting here and it looks all rosy and easy and simple. I want to open up the conversation about what you would have done differently. Running a business now in retrospect, moving forward here. But I got to give you a this is kind of a little hurtful to our crowd here. I don't normally do this, but I think I'm going to do this. Is that you're going to have to tune into the next episode to listen to thoughts of doing things differently. But before we go on to that one, Doug, how do people get in touch with you other than clicking the link below here to get in touch with you to get more information as what you do at Communica and get their pipeline going?
Communica. Find it on the web. Phone number 587-955-3010. You can click any of our email addresses. Simplest way to get a hold of us.
So who needs to get in touch with you?
Anyone doing project development, whether it's infrastructure, whether there's renewables, whether there's energy. We have a really big client base in terms of experience. And at the end of the day, we know what we're doing.
Good. Well, thanks, Doug. That was good.
Thanks, Bruno.
And you got to tune in next time because we're going to be talking about that, oh, if I knew then what I know now. Right?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Well, you know what? That's pretty much all the time we have for this episode today. Thank you for tuning in with us. And you know what? Make sure you subscribe to our MegaPixx media channel so you will never miss an episode. And also, you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram. We have content almost every day. So thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you guys soon.